Welcome to Fatherhood Insights, a global dialogue, where we dive into the latest research and discussions on fatherhood from a comparative perspective. I'm Tingting, your host for today's episode. Today, we are honored to have Professor Hideki Nakazato join us. Professor Nakazato is a leading expert in fatherhood studies and author of the groundbreaking book, The Sociology of Men's Parental Leave. Hello, Professor Nakazato. Congratulations on the success of your latest book. We have received high praise and recommendations for it. Would you be willing to share some parts from your book with our podcast listeners?
Yes, sure. Okay, this is a quote from the last chapter of my book. To make it natural for men to take full responsibility for child rearing through taking parental leave on their own is to free them from the assumption that it is only possible for mothers to do so. The assumption that women are the primary caregivers of children is one of the strongest in our society. Creating mechanisms to free ourselves from this assumption and changing practices will be a major force in transforming the gender structure.
That was enlightening. Thank you for sharing that. Moving on, could you explain the characteristics of parental leave policy in Japan?
Yes, one UNICEF's report on the degree of family friendliness of OECD and EU top-ranked Japan in terms of the generous provision of paid parental leave to fathers, and also drew attention to the uptake rate remaining low. This high rank reflects the characteristic of Japan's parental leave scheme that allows fathers their full entitlement to leave and benefits regardless of their partner's work status. Even when mothers are on leave, fathers can take leave simultaneously for 1 year and get benefits at 67% of their earlier earnings for the first 6 months and at 50% for another 6 months. That's the characteristics of Japanese parental leave scheme.
Thank you for explaining that. In your book, you mentioned a Nordic term in the Japanese parental leave system. Could you elaborate on the difference between Japanese and Swedish parental leave policies, or the difference between German parental leave policies? Thank you.
Yes, Nordic term is the phrase that Michael Rush used to describe a father-friendly parental leave scheme of Japan after the 2000s. But in my book, I wanted to draw attention to the difference between the Japanese scheme and the Swedish or Norwegian one, or also the German one. Fathers' quarters in these countries were introduced as a tool for encouraging men to take parental leave by limiting the period in which mothers get leave benefits. Under the Japanese leave scheme, mothers can cover the whole leave period for a child with full benefit, and fathers' leave taking does not extend the paid leave period for the family. I think this is a big problem that seems to be underestimated.
Thank you for that comparison. It's interesting to see the differences in parental leave policies across these countries. Thank you so much, Professor Nakazato, for joining us today and sharing your invaluable insights on fatherhood policies in Japan and beyond. Your research and expertise have shed light on important issues surrounding parental leave, gender equality, and work-life balance. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yes. The Japanese situation regarding fathers' parental leave taking is changing rapidly. According to the survey for large companies in Japan, nearly half of the fathers who are entitled to parental leave actually take it. But the issues I raised today is not solved yet. So I hope the listeners keep their eyes on how it will change from now. Thank you.
Absolutely. Professor Nakazato, your message resonates deeply, and we appreciate your dedication to this important cause. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to our podcast Fatherhood Insights, a global dialogue. Be sure to check out Professor Nakazato's latest book, The Sociology of Men's Parental Leave, for further insights on Japanese parental leave policies. And make sure to catch Professor Nakazato's latest TV show on men's parental leave, where he shares his insights and suggestions regarding Japanese parental leave policies. The show is broadcast on Abepula Prime and can be easily found on YouTube. Next time, we'll be exploring Swedish fatherhood from an economic perspective with Professor Anita Nyberg from Stockholm University, Sweden. And on April 10th, we will be exploring Canadian fatherhood from a psychological perspective with Professor Carl Lacharite from University of Quebec, Canada. Stay tuned for more engaging conversations on fatherhood studies. Until then, take care and keep exploring the world of fatherhood. Thank you so much.